Welcome to a Fresh Story podcast. This season, we're digging into all things divorce. We'll be discussing the ins, the outs, the nitty-gritty, all that stuff we don't talk about. Well, we're going to talk about it. Join us for everything you've always wanted to know about divorce, but were afraid to ask. Remember, you're not alone. Let's dive into divorce together. Hello, everyone. Olivia here. Did you know that most people contemplate divorce for years before they even call a divorce lawyer to set up an appointment? It's true. So what should you consider when you're considering divorce? On this episode of A Fresh Story, our Fresh Starts experts are answering your questions about contemplating divorce. The questions that we're going to cover on this episode include: I'm ready for a divorce, but I'm so overwhelmed. What can I do to just start the process? Do I need to consult with an attorney? And if so, how do I even choose the right one for my situation? What do I say when I call them? What should I even look for in a divorce lawyer? What's the purpose of a divorce coach? How can they help me and save me money? What are the different types of divorce? What financial steps should I take to prepare for the divorce process? Should I share about my divorce on social media? What should I tell people about my divorce? Do I even need to tell people? Yeah, we understand. It's a lot. So we called in the experts to answer these. Stay tuned to hear from Kara Francis, divorce mediator, divorce coach, Rachel Snow of Luminary Divorce Coaching, Paulette Rigo from Better Divorce Academy, Janice Berner, a CDFA financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst, and Carrie Rose, a divorce and transitions coach. Remember, you can find more info on divorceguide.co and divorcemonth.com, of course, and also on freshstartsregistry.com, and get in touch with any of these experts on freshstartsregistry.com/experts. Don't forget, you're not alone in this process. We're all here for you. So let's get started.
Hi, I'm Kara Francis. I am a former divorce lawyer turned divorce coach, as well as a divorce survivor. And I partner with my clients as a coach through all stages of the divorce journey, from deciding whether divorce is the right path for them to preparing to take the leap if divorce is the path they want to go down, as well as support during the negotiations and after the divorce is over with their post-divorce blank slate.
Okay, Kara. So we get this question almost daily to us at Fresh Starts, and it goes something along the lines of like this. I'm ready for a divorce, but I'm so overwhelmed. What can I do to just start the process? Kara, you are our go-to expert on this one. So what do you say?
Yes, this is a very common question. And first things first, I applaud everybody who has gone through that decision-making process internally, because that in and of itself is a huge accomplishment. And so now you're kind of ready, and it's almost like it took maybe a long time to reach this decision, and now you just want to like hit the ground running and like almost get it over with. Like even just the wording of the question of like, how do I just start, you know?
Yeah.
So,
How do they get the fresh start to the fresh start?
exactly. So my first piece of advice is to not rush. I feel like, and I'm no stranger to this, oftentimes when we have uncomfortable feelings, we just want to hurry up, rip the Band-Aid off. Let's just rush through this so we can avoid those uncomfortable feelings, which is totally natural. However, I would challenge you to really face those overwhelming feelings head on and really reflect on what is exactly feeling overwhelming for you. Is it stuff about the kids? Is it stuff about finances? Stuff about your living situation? Because just generally feeling overwhelmed, it's going to be hard for you to really pick a place to just start. Whereas if you really get curious about those emotions and what's really causing that overwhelmed feeling, that will kind of guide your next steps as far as where to get started. Um, Another piece of advice that I like to give my clients is before you hire anybody, before you file anything, take some time to reflect and to design your divorce internally before you're putting it out there in the world. So, how do you want your divorce process to feel? And what is your ideal divorce given the realities of your situation, your partner, the dynamics between the two of you, whether you have kids? Really start to envision what you want it to look like. And depending on the nature of the dynamics with the partner and your co-parent, that might mean litigation, or it could mean mediation if you guys are more amicable. It could be negotiating with your spouse directly, right? There's many different ways to get divorced. And a lot of people think the first thing they have to do is hire an attorney, and that's not necessarily the case. So take some time to really reflect on what you want your divorce experience to look like. Next, I would say start doing some preliminary research. You don't have to be an expert on all things divorce, but Google can be very helpful in this regard. Again, you don't have to hire an attorney to necessarily get all the ins and outs of how the process works from a high level. So there's, depending on your state's laws, there might be a timeline for separation, how long you have to be separated before you can get divorced. Maybe look into that. That might be the first thing you want to do, is to get that clock ticking. In general, how does the process work? What needs to be filed? What's the general timeline for the process if it's agreed versus not agreed? And maybe start researching some professionals who are aligned with your vision of your ideal divorce. So that might mean a coach. It might mean a certified divorce financial analyst to help you with your budget and to full expenses. It might be a lawyer, but it might be a lawyer who's really experienced with mediation and alternative dispute resolution. Or it might be a pit bull lawyer who's really experienced in litigation if you think that that's the route you have to take. So spend some time just researching, because the information and what you do with it is powerful. Last but not least, I would also suggest just starting to gather some preliminary documents, just to kind of dip your toe in a little bit, because these are documents that, whether you hire a lawyer or not, you're probably going to need to reference during your case. So things like your tax returns for the last few years, if you're employed, gathering the last few years of end of year pay stubs to get a sense of what your income looks like. And to even just start looking at your bank and credit card statements and start reviewing your expenses, like what's coming in, what's coming out. Because again, no matter which path you go down, litigation, mediation, or negotiation, this is information that you're going to need in order to make decisions about things like spousal support, child support, and things of that nature. So just to kind of sum it all up in a succinct way, I would say first things first, do some reflection about what's causing you to feel overwhelmed. Do some reflection around what you're wanting your divorce to look like. And then start doing just a little bit of preliminary research and gathering some of those initial documents. And having a coach can really support you during this phase. It can help, someone like me can help you stay organized, set some realistic goals for the timeline, and just partner with you along the way so that you feel like you kind of have a guide and a clear path.
I love that. I think that it's all so important, right? The reflection, and then also like the tangible stuff, like taking the inventory, seeing where your money is going in and out. And we're obviously all about divorce coaches here at Fresh Starts because we love our divorce coaches. If somebody is listening to this and they're like, oh, I need a coach, like I absolutely need to work with somebody, what is the best thing that they could say in an email or in a phone call to you? Just that, and they're scared, right? Like they've never done this divorce thing before. What do people say? What can they say?
I think being very clear and honest, both with yourself and with the coach, of where you're at in your journey. Are you still kind of waffling with the decision? Are you still struggling with the decision? Are you very firm on the decision and you just need someone to partner with you to guide next steps? Like this person's question is, I'm ready, but I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, right?
Right.
And if it's somebody who is in the middle of a case, are Are you feeling burnt out? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you guys stuck in your settlement positions, right? And just digging underneath there. So just really being open and honest with me about where they're at in the process and the things that are causing them the most stress, anxiety, or those uncomfortable feelings. And then we can kind of navigate from there.
So, of all the things you just mentioned, if somebody has to take one step forward to the divorce process, what would be the first step there?
I would say designing your divorce, the inner reflection. I think it does start with the inner reflection because it's very easy for me to give tangible, tactical steps, but unless you are on board mentally and emotionally with those steps, you're either not going to do them or you're not going to do them to your fullest potential, or you're going to kind of not feel as confident going into the process. So designing your divorce and then making sure all the choices you make subsequently to that are aligned with that vision.
You know, as you're talking, Kara, I just had like an aha moment as you're saying this, that every divorce must have its own identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you work with clients to really design that identity and stick within that ethos of the identity you build, right? So I'm sure there's people that are, like you said, are more pit bull style, right? In terms of divorce. I know for me, I wanted to stay true to my identity and my own ethos in life. And I did. And I felt really good about the way that I proceeded there. So when people reach out to you, you can help them design that divorce. So you work with a lot of people in that contemplation stage as well.
Yes, in the contemplation stage and in the stage of, I'm pretty sure I know what I want to do. The only thing that's holding me back is like how to actually do it.
The logistics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Logistics. Yeah. And I have ADD. And so for me, the logistics are always really, really complicated. So I get that. This is all really awesome, tangible help. And we have the divorce guide on Fresh Starts that are all 18 modules of questions you can just ask experts that, you know, because sometimes it's just knowing what to ask and who to reach out to. So obviously, Kara is a great place to get started.
Hi, I'm Rachel Snow, and I am a high conflict divorce and custody coach. I specialize in post-separation abuse and high conflict cases.
Okay, Rachel, we have a question for you today, and we get this question a lot. So it goes something like this. Hi, Fresh Starts. I'm going through a divorce. Do I need to consult with an attorney? And if so, how do I even choose the right one for my situation? What do I say when I call them? What should I look for in a divorce attorney? It's so overwhelming. Please help, help, help. Okay, Rachel, so what do you say? This is a very common question we get, and it's honestly a big stumbling block for a lot of people. So how can we help them here?
Absolutely. That is a huge question, and I see it all the time on social media. I hear it all the time. And so I would say that at least consult with 3 attorneys. Now, the hard part with choosing an attorney, I think, is just because they have a law degree doesn't make them a good attorney. So I definitely suggest getting referrals. So word of mouth is still one of the best ways to get a referral on anything. And finding a divorce attorney that understands you and doesn't want to just take your money is really important. So I think it's important to have kind of an understanding of where your divorce is going. Does it feel like it's going to be amicable? Do you feel like you're going to agree on a lot of things? Or has it been madness as soon as either you decided to get divorced or your soon-to-be ex says, I don't want to be married anymore? So I think that can determine what kind of attorney you're looking for as well. So again, find 3 attorneys that you want to consult with. And some attorneys do a free consult. Some attorneys do a very low cost kind of consult, maybe $50 to $100. It really depends on where you're at in the country. I'm in Colorado and Denver. Our attorneys are sometimes pretty up there in terms of cost. So when clients work with me, I definitely have my list of questions that you can ask an attorney that you're wanting to interview. So I think it really, again, depends on your situation, but I'll give a couple examples of questions I suggest my clients ask an attorney when they're going to interview one. So again, my business is mostly high conflict cases. So my clients' exes are toxic, abusive in some way, potentially personality disordered. So one of the questions, and this is a couple parts to this question, is do you specialize in divorces, or are divorces just a part of your practice? In the same vein of that question is, how long have you been practicing family law? How many family law cases have you handled? So those are just a couple questions kind of in the same vein of the same question. And a couple other questions I would say is, what is your strategy for my case? How long do you think it will take to resolve my case? Communication with an attorney is a big deal. I work on communication with my clients, with their attorneys, and with their exes, because I want my clients to be able to expedite their communication, whether it be a phone call or an email with their attorneys. I don't want them to waste their own time or their attorney's time, and I certainly don't want them to waste their money. So learning how to communicate with an attorney is a big deal. It's not just send them an email every time you have a question or call them every time you have a question. So one of the things you can ask your attorney if you decide to hire them or before you have hired them is, how long do you take to return phone calls? How do I get a hold of you if there is an emergency? And what does this attorney consider to be an emergency? What we perceive as an emergency as the person getting divorced doesn't necessarily mean your attorney is going to think it's an emergency. And I personally know this, having gone through a divorce, that I feel it's an emergency and they don't. And certainly in hindsight, I can see, oh, that wasn't really an emergent situation. But there's definitely times it is, depending on maybe it's parenting time. So I hope those are some good questions that the listeners will like. And I should say I have about 2 pages of attorney questions for clients. I really like to compile a lot of questions to ask. It's an interview. You're hiring this person to do a job for you. You're potentially paying them tens of thousands of dollars. It's a lot of time, money, and effort. So you want to make sure you're hiring somebody that really is on your side, that understands your situation, isn't just, I'm going to take your money and do a great job. And I guess another good question is, will this attorney be the attorney on your case? Or are you interviewing with this attorney and they're going to pass you off to a different attorney in the firm? I personally like smaller firms because then I know this is my attorney. This is the paralegal. This is the assistant. These are all the people in this law firm that I'll speak to, because that can be really frustrating if it's a really big law firm and you're just getting pushed to the side. So hopefully that answers some of those questions. One of your questions was, what should I look for in a divorce lawyer? I think someone that knows the jurisdiction you're in. So your jurisdiction is typically the county you live in. So say in Colorado, there's many different counties. So Jefferson County is one of them. You would want to ask your attorney, are you familiar with Jefferson County? Are you familiar with the family court judges? Is there some of them you would not want to be in front of? Or if you are, do you know how to handle that? So there's so many questions going into hiring an attorney. And I do feel that if people are going to hire an attorney, sometimes it can make or break your case. And again, I know I'm reiterating myself, but not all attorneys are created equal. And just because they have a law degree doesn't make them a good attorney. With the clients I work with, and we're working with potentially high conflict ex, the ex is abusive, again, potentially personality disordered. it's so important to have an attorney that can understand that can understand what it's like to deal with, parallel parent with, attempt to communicate with somebody that is controlling and abusive. So having the background on your attorney, I think, is really important.
Wow, that was all so helpful. It was so helpful. So one of the other questions, and then I want to kind of circle around, is what do you say when you call a lawyer? So we've asked a couple experts of this when they come on, and everybody's kind of said the same thing. But I'm just curious, like, what would you recommend? Just a really simple script to call a lawyer and say, would you say I'm considering getting divorced? Or what would you say?
I think there's a couple ways to go about it. So first of all, let's say you have your 3 attorneys you're going to call. If you're calling them, I want you to have a pad of paper and a pen ready to take notes, or you're typing notes on your computer, because I want you to make sure that you get the name of the person you're talking to. Maybe it's not the attorney, it's a paralegal, it's a receptionist, an assistant. So you want to write down the date, the time, and the person's name who you're contacting. And then it can be very simple. Hi, my name's Rachel, and I am going to be going through a divorce. I would like to interview you to potentially represent me. So some of those questions, those first initial questions are, do you work in the jurisdiction I live in? I live in Jefferson County. Do you take cases in Jefferson County? You'll get the answer. Another good question is, can you take any new cases right now? You don't want to go into your spiel of why you're getting a divorce, what you're looking for, if they have no room. So I like 2 points of contact. Make a phone call. That's excellent. I also personally do a bunch of digging and research. I go to the website. I read about the whole law firm. I read about the attorney. I look where their office is located, because maybe they don't work in the county that I live in. So I want to know some of those pieces. And sometimes on their website, you can do a contact. So you can email them or fill out that contact form. Sometimes that can be better, just because you can be more clear in what you want to ask. So you can put it in writing. Hi, I'm Rachel. I am facing a divorce. I am looking for a divorce attorney. I live in Jefferson County. Are you accepting new clients?
I love that. I love that script. I love that script.
Super easy.
Yeah.
And a side note I would say is, if you can get yourself really organized before you're making these phone calls and have kind of a script or a timeline of your case or your divorce, because I know sometimes it's divorce, so it's the very beginning stages. And sometimes this is 2 years post decree and you need to hire an attorney again. So having a timeline of your case is really important. So
that's good advice.
When you separated, when you divorced, what's happening now? Did your ex file a motion against you? What's that motion? So having some of those documents ready to go is really important. It makes an excellent first impression. Attorneys are impressed when people contact them and they have everything ready to go. They have the other party's name, if the other party has an attorney, the county, the date of separation, date of divorce, any of those things. Even if it's, well, he filed for divorce, but I don't have an attorney, so I'm looking. I mean, the more organized you can be when interviewing attorneys is excellent. And this is a really important tip, so I hope everyone's paying attention right now. The more attorneys you call and interview, you conflict them out. That means if your ex calls that attorney and you've already had a consult, they can't use that attorney. So a little tip is conflict as many attorneys out as possible. So I say at least 3, interview at least 3. That's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
But if you have recommendations for like 10, call them all.
I was about to ask you that same thing. And I want to just circle back. So you're a divorce coach. So I feel like for a lot of people who are listening to this, that might be like, okay, you're telling me to call this person and I'm scared and I am supposed to ask all these questions and my ego is really small right now and I feel unworthy. Would it be most helpful to start with a divorce coach and have somebody by your side to kind of bolster you as you go through this picking a lawyer process?
I would say yes. Not just because this is my business, but my mission is to support women through their life, through challenging spaces and seasons in their life. So if you're going through something that's brand new, you've never done this before, you are scared, you are nervous. If you have children, it makes it more intimidating and scary, especially if your ex is abusive. So I really want women to have their wolf pack. So I want them to have a trauma-informed therapist. I want them to have an attorney that really understands their case. And of course, I want them to have a coach, whether it's me or not, it doesn't necessarily matter. But having someone on your side that has been through divorce and understands it. And if it's, again, a high conflict ex, if your ex is toxic, if he just, or she, if they send you crazy texts and messages and you're just left going, what the heck am I dealing with? Having one person on your side that can say, I get it, is priceless. Yeah. So yes, if you are facing a divorce and you are not sure what to do, I would definitely say those are at least the bare minimum 3 people. Yeah. Consult with an attorney. You want to be in therapy because this is a major life transition and it is really freaking hard. Yep. And having your divorce coach and consultant on your side is, it's having that strategic partner. It's having someone that's going to hold your hand through the process. It's having someone that can, again, help you communicate with your attorney, help you communicate with your ex. Yep. Really prepare you for going into mediation, going into court. If there's a parental evaluation, this is what your coach can help you with. Your attorney helps with the legal side. Yep. Your therapist helps with your mental health. And then your coach is your strategic partner, your brainstorming buddy.
I love that. And you work nationally, virtually, Rachel?
I do. Yeah, I'm based in Colorado and I see clients all over the country. I do phone calls. I do Zooms. I just started doing some live in-person events here in Colorado. So that's very exciting too, because I know after the craziness of COVID, we're all missing human interaction. Yeah. And I really want to be able to create a sense of community and connect other women with each other in my community so that they don't feel so isolated and alone, whether it's divorce or post-separation abuse. Yeah. Just trying to create that community so people know they're not alone.
I love that. Well, if anybody's listening to this and they're like, I love Rachel's vibe, I totally want to work with her, you can find her at Fresh Starts. Rachel, this was really, really important information, and I love the way you presented it and just how calm and like stable you made everything sound. So I think a lot of people are going to listen to this and be like, okay, I get this. I can do this. And if I can't, then I can contact Rachel and she will help me get all of this done. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
My name is Paulette Rigo. I'm the CEO and founder of Better Divorce Academy and the author of #1 best-selling book, Better Divorce Blueprint. It's a book, workbook, audiobook, and course, and the host of the Better Divorce podcast.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, Paulette. So we get this question a lot, and I tell everybody who comes to me when they're considering a divorce to go get one of our divorce coaches. But we get this question also. So what is the purpose of a divorce coach? And I know you have a great answer for this. How can divorce coaches help people and really help them save money, which is a big thing in a divorce? So what do you say here, Paulette?
It is a nightmare to go through divorce without an expert holding your hand, locking arms with you, walking through the fire, pardon the expression, but that's pretty much what it is, step by step by step through the entire process, from confusion, overwhelm, fear, stress, you get the idea, all the way to the light at the end of the tunnel, to conclusion. Now, sometimes that's 6 months, but sometimes it's 6 years. And you need somebody that's patient, knowledgeable, and accessible on your schedule. Divorce doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not like, hey, you're going to make an appointment, go get your hair done, and come home. Nope. It doesn't work that way. You need somebody that's malleable, flexible, and fluid to work with you in your particular situation. Now, there's a lot of consistencies in divorce, but most cases are highly unique and individual. So having a divorce coach is that quarterback, cheerleader, expert BFF in your back pocket that you can whip out at midnight, 2 a.m, or noon to ask a question, to use as a confidant, a sacred container of somebody to really be there for you that you can trust, that's going to give you an honest answer, or maybe give you a little homework, something to do to keep you on task and on point. It's very easy in divorce to get sidetracked because there's a lot of sparkly objects to look at: judicial, legal, financial, residential, lending, insurance, taxes, co-parenting, mental health, psychological, mental, physical well-being, and dare I say the sexual, spiritual aspect of it too. There isn't a part of your life that is not affected by divorce. Now, that's not all doom and gloom. Chin up, everyone. Don't despair. But you can see how divorce is a multifaceted experience, from your thought process, feeling your feelings, deciding what you want, being responsible for yourself, knowing all the deal breakers, knowing how to prepare and protect yourself. I always say you can never have too much information. And you may not need to use all that information, but you're going to need to have it. And also honoring your values, knowing when to tell the children, when not to tell the children, what to tell the children, what not to tell the children, deciding what's right for you and your family, knowing the methods of divorce, all of the issues and categories that the courts are concerned about, mitigating outside influences. Ooh, that's a big one. Those people that you think are going to be there for you that maybe aren't going to be, and maybe the ones you thought you could trust that maybe you learned out, unfortunately, you shouldn't have. That's okay. But taking care of your well-being, mindfulness, gathering your evidence, learning the budget aspect of it, how to fill out a domestic relations financial affidavit. Oh my, discovery, interrogatories, lawyers speak, choosing the right advocates for yourself. I could go on for hours. I won't, because this is not the purpose of this, resource here. But understand that there's a lot to take into consideration before, during, and after. What is your life going to look like after? Because it's not all doom and gloom. Are you going to change your name? Maybe you're not. Maybe you are. Are you going to date again? If you are, oh my, what's that going to look like? And what are you going to do for a job if you need to re-enter the workforce, right? That's a big one. Alimony and child support, if you're, I hate this word, lucky enough to get it, makes me crazy to say that, doesn't last forever. So you're going to need a plan B or C once the children emancipate and are out of the house, depending on your age. Are you 30? Are you 40? Are you 60? Divorce is going to affect you in a different way based on your stage of life and how old your children are. And hopefully, if you have the right advice, guidance, support, and coaching, dare I say, you're going to be able to look back at your divorce with dignity and grace and wisdom and no regret. We never want you to have regret. And I'm also the only professional in your life that never wants a repeat client.
That's interesting. Yeah, so why would somebody then not use a divorce coach? Because it sounds like you absolutely need one. No? I mean, right? Like,
yeah. Well, let's face it. when I started my divorce journey many years ago, and I'm aging myself, we didn't have divorce coaches, Olivia. We didn't have
No,
them.
by the way, they didn't have them 4 years ago when I was. I mean, they were around, but like it was not the same in the same
Correct.
capacity
Right.
that they have now. Yeah.
So there's a couple reasons, and let me go for each of them. There aren't a lot of professionals that really have the experience, both personally and professionally. Also, make sure that you hire the right professional. Doesn't have to be me. That's not what I'm saying. But there's gotta be some demeanor and congruency
Totally.
with
Totally.
your personality. You've got to be able to feel like you can call this person, whether that be email, text, Voxer, Marco Polo, voice memo, in person at a coffee shop, whatever, depending on your situation. You've got to have a professional relationship, but yet you've got to feel like they have your back, that they really care about you. And there's some empathy and deep, just connection between the coach and you. So that's important. Interview them and make sure you get a vibe that
you should, I guess, feel supported, right? You want to feel safer and supported leaving that interview than before.
Right. So that's important is educate yourself that, hey, there's no excuse now. The divorce coaches and preferably a certified divorce coach. Now, I also wear a few other hats in the divorce world. I'm the director of coaching and case management for Divorce Right, where I vetted 60 divorce coaches. So I also want to make sure that my divorce coaches on my team, that's a corporate EAP, employee benefit program. So it may not be, something you need. But the reason I bring it up is I require my divorce coaches to be at least 5 years out of their own personal story.
Yeah.
I think it's important that as a divorce coach, I don't get triggered or have to relive my own story just because you're going through it.
No, it's funny. I'm laughing, Paulette, because I've been doing these interviews for this season of the show.
Right.
And we had a wonderful, one of our divorce lawyers was on, who we love. And I was interviewing her about custody and I was triggered, right? And I've only been divorced 4 years or not even 3 years, right? And so I literally said to her, I was like, I'm so sorry. I can't even remember the questions I'm supposed to be asking you. I'm going into like freeze mode here, just thinking about custody, right? So I 100%, I think that like there are so many, and a lot of divorce coaches obviously are kind of, I think what you said was perfect. Some of them are more like the life coach, divorce coach. Some of them are more, right? Like there's different types and it really depends on what you need.
Sure.
But, I think, so here's a question that comes up a lot. And I will say too, this is like an interesting kind of story to weave into this. We are so passionate about divorce coaches at Fresh Starts because we know that it's something you need. Right. And we have tried time and again to tell different press outlets, you need to cover divorce coaches because they are must have during divorce. And what we hear time and again from journalists is, well, people don't have money to spend during the divorce. So we're telling people to spend more money, and I will shake them and I will say, you don't get it, right? It actually saves you money in the long run. So can you for just set the record straight here, Ms. Paulette?
How much time do you have? But well, I'm going to say I'm going to be a trailblazing, paradigm breaking.
I love it. That's what we're all about here.
Advocate for changing that trajectory.
Yeah.
I was just reached out to by CNN because they heard about the work I do. I'm in Atlanta. There, who doesn't know that CNN's headquarters are in Atlanta, but I have clients in 43 states, so don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter where you live. But they reached out to me and said, we want to interview you and understand what it is you do. Yeah. Well, I asked how long she needed me for. AJ Willingham is her name. She said about 20 minutes. Well, an hour and a half later, we're still on. So why does a divorce coach save you money? Yep. Well, I wear a little bit of a unique hat that I'm also a credentialed private mediator. So not only am I a mediator, I'm also a divorce coach. So when I'm mediating, I don't coach. And when I coach, I don't mediate. That's not to say that when I'm mediating, I don't use my coaching skills. And when I'm coaching, I don't use my mediation skills. But from that foundation, divorce coaches are going to be able to help you answer questions and get you the right resource or professional or tool or strategy or leverage or tactic or awareness or education that you need to make better decisions. The more people that you pull into your contact list or Rolodex, showing my age there, but I think everyone knows what that means, right? Your circle, it's going to cost more money, right? So you've got to choose wisely. I always tell my clients to have 2 pads of paper. One pad.
I love it. I love this. I love when you say this. You say this every time I talk to you, and I love it. I love it.
It's true, though, right?
Yeah.
So you don't. It could be on your phone. It doesn't have to actually be a pad of paper, everyone. But it's the idea. And you have a pad of paper, and the top of one says questions for attorney, and the second one says questions for Paulette or whoever your divorce coach is. And you might wake up at 3 a.m. with like, oh my God, I have to ask that question, and you just jot it down, right? Get it out of you. Emotionally vomit, get it out. Get it out of your brain, out of your heart, out of your soul, because you forget stuff. You got a lot of stuff to do, right? And kids to take care of, and a house and a job and a divorce to handle and custody and paying for this all. So you're going to write down those lists. Now, I guarantee you, most of the questions that are on the list for the attorney will also be on the list for Paulette or your divorce coach. You're then going to reach out to me, and we're going to address every single one of those unique questions, concerns, problems. And I promise you, I've got a little, that 90% of those questions will be answered. Then we're going to refine your list of questions to ask attorney, which there will be some guaranteed. You're going to go ahead and write an email to your attorney, send it to me. I'm then going to edit it, put it in lawyer speak, not change the message or make it different or change the context or give you any legal advice, but to make it more answerable, because attorneys do not like to answer run-on sentence. Those text messages that last for weeks. I don't know what to call them. They look like rulers. No. We're going to be efficient in our language. And then once I send it back to you, you're then going to go either, oh my God, I can't believe you just did that, or great job, or we go back and forth. Maybe I don't charge you by the hour, so it doesn't matter. Okay. And then you go ahead and send it to your attorney. Yep. Boom. I promise you, you're going to get an answer efficiently. Yeah. You are now going to become what's known as a credible, likable, reliable client. Ooh. And your attorney is going to put you on the list. Not that there really is a list, but there is of clients they like and the top of the list, because you're going to be seen as someone that's got their ducks in the row. Yeah. You've organized, you're efficient, and you've taken out the emotional aspect of the conversation. So I don't know if that was a good description.
Wow.
Wow. It's going to save thousands of dollars, because now your billable hour is a 6 to 8 minute increment and not hours and hours of emails.
I don't know how anybody else couldn't see that. That to me is like, boom, right there. That's your answer.
I do.
Right. That's just one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And also it helps them get really clear on their values and what's important and what isn't. We can address the emotional out that the attorneys don't need to do. One other way to save money is do not ask your therapist legal advice, and do not ask your attorney mental health advice. Yes. Right? Keep them in their lanes. You wouldn't go to a realtor and start asking for tax advice. It's about real estate taxes. You wouldn't go to a health insurance person and ask them about co-parenting advice. Right. So you have to make sure you have the right professional for the right job. It will save you a ton of money.
It's amazing. So if somebody's listening to this and they're like, I would love to work with her, she sounds amazing. Obviously, go to Fresh Starts. You can find Paulette over there. And just really quick before we let you go, you have packages, or I know you work one-on-one with people. If somebody's listening to this and they're like, I just would love to meet you, do you have a free consult people can just get in touch with you?
I do. Anybody that is a referral partner through Fresh Start Registry, amen. Call me up. I'm there. I've got my hands in the air. Best way to reach me is just email Paulette at Better Divorce Academy through the registry. You'll see me. I'm right there. I promise I will get back to you. If you're really looking for a full-fledged 90-minute consult,
Yep.
I do that, although I try to stay away from the hourly model from
Yeah.
my earlier conversation. It doesn't really serve long term. You're going to need to know that you have me for a duration of time, whether that be 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year. You never know. I also do something called unlimited. But yes, consult, love to chat with you. I want to make sure that all of your questions get answered appropriately so that you can lessen your anxiety and fear and get really organized and clear. You only get one shot at this. There's no dress rehearsal at divorce. Custody, children, division of assets and debt, spousal support, child support, legal custody, physical custody, all of those little things are really important. And you've got to be able to feel confident moving forward with the right information and the right support so that you can make smart choices.
There's so much. I mean, I love everything you said, Paulette, and I love you. And we so appreciate your passion for this. But like, I think something that comes up for me and something that I was very clear on for myself during my divorce was keeping my integrity. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that like, if you can keep your integrity during your divorce, you can get through anything, but that's really hard to do alone. And I was lucky I had a wonderful family and support system, and you might have that too, but a divorce coach will be there for you like from A to Z, right? Through all of this stuff. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm considering divorce, do I really need a divorce coach? The answer is a emphatic yes, you need a divorce coach. And we have amazing ones. And like you said, you'll go find one that fits your personality. And so what are the different types of divorce? I'm hearing a lot of different things and people are saying so many things to me, right? This is what I know when I was going through my divorce. I'm like, what are all these it's a different language. It's a different world. So what are the different types of divorce, Paulette?
I like to think of them as methods, right?
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
I'm going to say 5, but there could be an alternative known as 6. Okay. Let's start at the beginning. Good old fashioned DIY. Let's not pick on Home Depot, but you're going to put on a deck. You can't afford a contractor. You go buy the stuff. Hopefully you Google the heck out of it, know what you're doing, and you build the deck yourself. Can you DIY your divorce? Yes, but it could be problematic if you have assets that are, a little sticky and you've got children. If you've been married a short period of time and you're renting, you get a couple grand in the bank and maybe you should have annulled this. And, don't mean to sound casual. DIY is a good option.
It's like your first celebrity marriage.
Go down to the courthouse together, file it, pay your $250 and you can DIY. Why is DIY not a good idea if you have those assets? Likely you'll miss something and you're going to have to go to the court and explain yourself to a judge, and it may be not accepted, and you probably should have had some professional guidance along the way. So the next method is mediation. And there are 3 forms of mediation. So it's kind of like a 2, A, B, and C. Court appointed, mediation with attorneys present, and mediation without attorneys present. That's private mediation. So court-appointed mediation is kind of part of litigation where you're litigating and the court now mandates, and I think like 48 states now, that mediation be a part of the litigated process because they see the value in it. The problem here is you don't get to know the mediator. You don't typically pick the mediator. There's no getting to know each other. It's you walk in the room and there's the mediator and now you've got attorneys and they're pretty much arguing with one another. It's not typically very productive, and it doesn't typically resolve the entire case. It might make it move faster along, but it's not always what it's painted to be. Then you have private mediation without an attorney present or attorneys present, or private mediation with attorneys present. I can get into that later if you'd like, but you get the idea. 3 is collaborative. Collaborative law is very popular in some states. Other states don't even know what the heck it is. So it's a little bit more like location driven. It's a little bit like having a team approach where you have each party has an attorney assigned to you, whether it's brick and mortar, pardon, and all of the resources or professionals are in the same building, or they're not. Think of it as that kind of mindset that the team is, you got a team and you have an option of being able to use those team members that you may or may not need. Some of those collaborative firms or collaborative processes, you have flat rates and some of them do hourly. It doesn't have the highest success rate, about 50%. If it's successful, it's wonderful. But unfortunately, in the collaborative process, if one or both of the parties feel like it's not serving them or going down their way and they pull out, you cannot use any of the data, nothing. And you can't use the attorneys.
Wow.
It's almost like it didn't happen.
That's wild.
It's a little bit of a, flip of the coin kind of thing. Number 4 is arbitration. Now, arbitration is when the parties hire an arbitrator, which typically is a retired or burnt out litigator, someone that knows the law really, really well and doesn't want to litigate anymore. Could also be a retired judge. Arbitrators can be great. Retired judges can be great arbitrators and vice versa. So an arbitrator then looks at all of the parties' paperwork and asks a lot of questions and, kind of mediates a little bit, but not really. It's more of a fact-finding, fact-gathering session. Yes, they're going to pay a little bit of attention to who might be more credible, more believable, more likable. And then that arbitrator makes a decision and it's final and it cannot be appealed. So who arbitrates? Because it's private, mostly celebrities or politicians or people that really want to keep their private life private. And typically those that have either prenups or postnups. So they kind of already know what's going to happen. There may be a little bit of tweaking in there, but for the most part, the couple is about 80% sure they know what's going on. And then, of course, there's good old fashioned litigation where both parties are have attorneys representing them. One is the plaintiff, one is the defendant. There's a complaint. It's filed. The respondent has 30 days to reply. And then we go down that road of discovery and interrogatories and hearings and all kinds of court proceedings. Don't forget my 8.5-year fully litigated divorce case that included a 12-day trial and a 4-year appellate process. And then the 6th option is now known as an amicable divorce, which there are some, I'm a member of Amicable Divorce Network, and it's a little bit like a hybrid between collaboration and mediation where, I don't want to oversimplify it or overcomplicate it, but each person is assigned a mediator, a litigator, an attorney, and they have to follow a set of rules that are towards the path of an uncontested case. So that is I'm going to call it a 6th newer method but predominantly that's the Divorce 101 synopsis of the methods of divorce.
Amazing. Would you say you see that one or another is like more popular? Like, I don't know, like I know, like, and I did mediation. We bounced around many mediators, but we did mediation. And I know like a lot of my friends are doing mediation just because it's like kind of cheaper, but also you have your own lawyer. Like, I don't know. What do you find? I'm just curious.
It's dependent on how knowledgeable the party or parties are about alternatives. You have to remember that most people still don't know that there are alternatives to litigation. Now, I want to kudos to the younger sect. When I was growing up, if you had a medical problem, you went to a doctor, they told you what to do, and you did it. If you had a financial problem, you went to a fiduciary, took their advice and went home and did it. If you had a legal problem, you went to a legal expert. They told you what to do and you did it. You get the story I'm going down, right? And the younger generation is saying, can there be a better way to solve a problem? Whether that's the internet, Google, Pinterest, social media, AI, who the heck knows where the shift is happening in that trajectory of solving problems. But I do see that I'm not going to throw out an exact percentage, but maybe 50 to 75% of the population does not know that there's an alternative to litigation. We are part of the education, right? Of educating people. So though that percentage of people, whether that be 50 or 25% that do know that there's an alternative, are now looking for answers that are less contentious, less damaging, less expensive, less time consuming. Even if it were free, it's still time of years of your life, right? So I do credit the younger generation for saying, there's a better way to solve a problem. And there is. Yeah.
There is. Yeah. It doesn't always have to be one way or another way.
And 97% of divorce cases do not go to trial. So that's the good news. Deep breath, everyone. 3% that do go to trial, only 3%. Only 1% of the 3% goes to appeal. So I was the unicorn of divorce that 99% of people will never experience. But that gave me the personal and professional experience helping people through trials and high conflict cases overall.
Yeah, because you did what we love to do here at Fresh Starts, which is turn a heartbreak into something beautiful, which I love.
Absolutely. And I'm remarried. Yeah.
We love it. And I was going to say, before we let you go today, because I'm going to call you the fairy godmother of divorce. Before we let you go, if somebody's listening to this, which I'm assuming they are listening to this because they either know somebody going through a divorce or they're considering or going through it, what would be some wise words you could impart to them to just get through this time?
Getting to a place where you know who you are and what you want. And who do you want to be at the end of this? Because divorce changes every aspect of your life, every cell in your body. You will feel like a different person on the other side. I'm not saying we, forget a lot of who you are. It's not like your whole identity changes, but, you have to step off the spinning wheel and reconnect and reevaluate who and what works in your life and who and what in your life doesn't. Making room for the new. And having an open mind about adventure and freedom, empowerment, inspiration, and understanding that the future is yours to create. You have more power than you realize. Trying not to see divorce as a failure. You're not a bad person. You didn't do anything wrong. It's a matter of accepting that this may be an alternative that you didn't seek at the beginning. I don't know anyone that gets married that says, if it doesn't work out, there's always divorce. Nobody sees that. And there are no mistakes, only lessons. But if you don't take the lesson with you, you're going to need me again. And nothing personal, everybody, but I only want to work with you one time.
You are the fairy godmother. You leave at midnight. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Paulette, it's always a pleasure to get your wise wisdom. And I think this will really enlighten so many people to say, oh my gosh, there are other options out there. And we just appreciate you. We appreciate your knowledge so much. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. That's one of the real good things that you can do with a divorce coach right away is understand the methods and choose the right one for you.
I love that.
And once you commit to that method, go through it step by step wisely. So you get the outcome you deserve and desire.
I'm Janice Berner, and I'm a certified public accountant and a certified divorce financial analyst. After 20 years as a CPA and a finance and audit director with Fidelity and other companies, I became a CDFA because I have personal and a lot of professional experience with divorce.
Okay, Janice, we have a question for you here from our listeners. And somebody said, Dear Fresh Starts, I'm considering a divorce. What financial steps should I take to prepare for the divorce process? Janice, I know you have a lot to say on this, so I'm going to let you take over here.
Great, Olivia. Thank you for asking this question. It's a really important one. When I'm working with clients preparing for or going through divorce, I recommend they first assemble a divorce team made up of specialists in each area of divorce. Although we know enough to be dangerous about other areas, for example, I'm not an attorney, but I'm very familiar with the process, and I'm not a divorce coach or a mortgage specialist. The importance of having a team is that the expertise of each of these are needed to put together a comprehensive plan and strategy. So that's step one. Interview your professionals, decide who you're going to work with. And it's never too early nor too late to get started. I wanted to throw that in as well. So never feel like you are too late to the process, nor are you too early to be speaking to people and getting a good fit, both from a personality, skills, and budget standpoint. Have a clear and often complementary session with each one of those professionals to find your person. So that's step one. As a CDFA, or a Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, I'll assist clients to obtain the knowledge they need to make healthy, enabled financial decisions in the divorce process. When I'm working with clients, my first step is to help identify and quantify desired financial goals. Because if you don't have a target, it's really impossible to hit it. I'm going to help you get organized, pull together all your financial data, let you know what you need, let you know what the process looks like. I have a timeline that I use with clients. I pull that slide out, and it really kind of helps people. Because when you're in the midst of all of this and all the questions that will come up and all the different things people are trying to achieve, it's often hard to understand where you're at in the process and what's due when, who works together, why do you need to know all this? So that's usually step one, is getting acquainted with, where do I stand today? What do I owe? What do I own? Where do I really want to go? It's okay to have some hopes and aspirations still. We're going to recover from this. That's my favorite part of my job. And I need to understand what matters to you, because I do not want you to think that all you need to do is fill out financial forms for the state and then walk away and cross your fingers, right? We're going to have a plan and we're going to get there. So that's number one, important. The other thing I tell people is, as you're working with me or anyone else, gain knowledge, right? This is your life that we're talking about, and I can download as much information as possible to you. But I find that the more inquisitive clients who really sort of go out there and try to take control a little bit over their process, by doing some research and understanding what's involved and what to expect. That's what they're doing by listening to today, for example. You don't need to go to the library or have hours to do this. You may just do it on your way to work. Try to get those podcasts and listen to them so you can gain the knowledge you need, because knowledge is power, right? And power is control. And I find that the more control people feel like they have over the process, the better it goes for them. Not only is it a less difficult process, but also in the end, everything ends up better, okay? So understand the different ways you can get a divorce. Mediation, what's that? Versus collaborative, versus working with just attorneys. Plan out your finances and your resources as you prepare for divorce. What's it going to entail? Who's going to pay my bills once this process starts, right? Who's going to pay the professionals, or at least the deposits, to start working with them? So talking to somebody like myself or your financial professional, we can help you think about what's involved there so that nothing takes you by surprise, or as little as possible, okay? So where possible, put aside some money or borrow money. I see that often to cover your divorce expenses, maybe, just emergency stuff from families or a nice aunt. You laugh, but, she wants to help you, so it's okay. Speak up. Stay on top of your bills from a financial standpoint. You never want your credit scores to be impacted if possible. So talk to the companies if you're having a hard time, right? But never pay certain things late. For example, a mortgage, because that's your credit history and it's really hard to dig out. Student loans, never pay those late, okay? And in the process of getting organized with somebody like me, that's something we can talk about, because the number one thing we'll do first is, what does it cost you to live? What's your budget? And truly, I spend a lot of time there. The reason why people often think that it's just the cost of a house and eating out and gasoline and fuel. Most of us spend 3 times as much on discretionary. And what does that involve? Everything from Amazon to simply clothing for your kids to their sports and the things that they do to keep them happy and healthy. The things that we don't see come through as regular invoices are the things that I'm going to help you identify, so that when you go to the table of discussion, and hopefully it's a healthy discussion, you're going to be prepared with, what do I need to continue the same standard of living for either myself and my kids? If we did not count on those other expenses, not only would you not be negotiating from a good place, but you'd be very surprised later in life when your money doesn't last as long as you think it's going to. So that's super important. A good budget done with a financial professional. The way we do it is that you're going to be presenting your financial information to the other side. You do those forms along with your CDFA. And once everyone has their information and we've shared it, now the negotiating starts, or the thought processes start around, how do we divide this all up? Asset separation. We call that running scenarios in the financial planning world. So those will be based on your goals. For example, you may have said to me, I really need to keep this house. I'd love to keep it for a few years till my kids graduate, or it has sentimental meaning to me. Or you may ask me, Janice, do I need to go to work again? Or do I need to work more, or in a different occupation? Do I need to change careers? Those are the factors that I can change within these scenarios that help you make decisions. You'll see hard and fast numbers in front of you with probability of success. That if the asset separation and the support goes as thought it's going to go, or if you change some factors about keeping the house or how long you keep the house, that's what financial planning is. It's helping you make your primary goals work, no matter what it is that we need to change out. Okay, so scenarios will switch out different factors and decisions you could make to help you make them. We also need to consider taxes. That's another big thing that gets forgotten in this process. Is it the same thing to accept $500,000 of equity out of a home as it is to take my spouse's $500,000 401k? The quick answer is no. but that's something that we could talk about. We also need to consider liquidity, just a fancy word for how do I pay my bills? When I go to talk to my spouse about money that I need to walk away with, I need to know where the money's coming from. Support probably is not going to meet my needs. And as well as that, it ends someday. So how do we plan for the day when alimony and support come to an end? How do we plan for the fact that they may not meet all of our needs? That's all financial planning done with a CDFA. Other tasks that I help with, I talk about understanding that financial decisions cannot be undone. So it is super important that you don't make rash emotional decisions as you go through a divorce. Don't say, I just want to get this over with because you hate it, because whatever you decide today as far as asset separation sticks. Alimony and support, if someone's life or job changes in the future, you can go back in and try to modify. Don't rush through any of your decisions. Just know that the more information, knowledge, and support you have, the better you're going to feel about your decisions. And you won't look back and regret that you didn't take a few more minutes to just take a look at it. Okay? We also prepare you for financial life beyond divorce, not just the next 5 years to get your kids out of high school, but how are you going to survive? Are you going to retire someday? What are you going to do with this house? And how are things going to change once support and alimony come to an end? So I guess the message that I would give to people is prepare, find trusted advisors, make knowledgeable and not emotional decisions, and know that no matter what, you're going to be okay.
Amazing. That was all such helpful advice. I really hope that people can go back and listen to that clip over and over, because I think it's really important to just like take notes from that. I know that you have offers and you work with people. So if anybody wants to dig deeper, to go to Fresh Starts and get in touch with Janice, because she can help you do that. But I think what I love what you said is that it's all really actionable and really reasonable, and things that we can start doing yesterday, right? These are the things that you can start doing. So I appreciate all of that, Janice. And like I said, if people want to really start getting a, jump start on figuring all this out so you can feel empowered while you're going through the process, get in touch with Janice. She is certified in doing this and working with people and digging deep. So Janice, we appreciate your insight here. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad, Olivia. My pleasure.
Hi, I'm Carrie, the founder and certified life coach behind Sun Up Coaching. I support individuals experiencing a major life transition, such as divorce. So I help you focus on your values and unashamedly live them out.
Okay, Carrie, we have a question here. We get this question a lot. And so it goes something like this. Hi, Fresh Starts. I'm going through a divorce and I'm very curious. Should I share about my divorce on social media? What should I tell people about my divorce? Do I even need to tell people about my divorce? Okay, Carrie, you're the expert here. What do you say?
First of all, great question. Very typical to ponder that and wonder about that. Sharing about your divorce is a very personal and situational thing. Many folks who are experiencing divorce range from wanting to shout it from the rooftops to perhaps wanting to hide from all humans, or of course somewhere in between. So before I mention a few thoughts on telling people about your divorce, I want to say loud and clear, when and how you tell people is your choice. Even if someone is asking about your life and you don't want to answer, you simply say, I'd rather not discuss that right now. Their need to know is not your need to tell. This is a little harder if someone is asking face to face, but you can still choose to not discuss your divorce at that moment. So what should you tell people about your divorce when you do decide to share? That depends on the person, the circumstance, and frankly, what you want to share. I recommend having several people in your life who can know the whole story, whether that's a friend, a family member, a therapist, a divorce coach. You need a few people who will listen to your experience and anything that you're willing to share. Choose these people wisely. You probably already are sharing with them as the process goes on. As for sharing with others, more distant folks in your life, I recommend being brief and sharing only a few details. You can always add more to the story, but you can't take back something that was said. Direct is often best, so simply state your new reality and perhaps 1 to 2 facts about it. And when I say facts, I don't mean juicy details or blame toward your ex-spouse. Again, you need a few people who can hear everything, but that's not everyone, or social channels. Rather, something like, we began to value different things and our lives were going in a different direction. We're divorced and now I'm adjusting to my new normal. People will likely ask follow-up questions such as, did you want the divorce? Did he or she cheat on you? Oh my gosh, I had no idea, and more. You don't have to specifically answer the question unless you want to. You can also say, I'd rather not discuss details right now. If you have kids, remember that anything you share may be said to them. So if you don't want your kids hearing a specific version of your divorce, don't share it with someone you don't completely trust. The same goes with family members. People talk, even if they're not meaning to gossip. So if you share something with a coworker, know that it may get mentioned to a former sister-in-law or something of the sort. Of course, this all depends if you live close to family or former family. That was a lot of background to the social media dilemma. So what do you share, if anything? Again, this is up to you. I recommend not sharing ample details on social media, even if your accounts are private. If you want to share a post about this major life transition, go for it. I would write it, sleep on it, reread it, and share if you're okay with anyone and everyone reading what you wrote. Even if your account is private, people can show it to anyone. I'm in no way suggesting you hide your life or your reality, but what you say about it online is personal and up to you. It may sound absurd, but I recommend sharing some type of gratitude in a divorce social media post. If you're not feeling grateful at all, maybe don't share yet. And I'm not suggesting that one immediately feels grateful for divorce, but eventually you might feel grateful that the process is over, that you can put energy toward moving on, that you are safe, for the friends and family that stood beside you. You get the idea. Writing down gratitude is a great way to remember it yourself, especially during a tumultuous time like divorce. And a possible positive outcome of sharing on social media, or in general, telling others about your divorce, is that folks offer support. I hope this happens for you, and I hope you say yes. It's okay to accept help. It doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Be specific how people can help you. For example, I could really use after-school childcare on Wednesdays, or take out dinner or a meal one night would be great. Or if you have any leads on flexible part-time work, I'd love to know. This is where a divorce registry is great. It's a specific, tangible way that others can help you. And if you make one, go ahead and share it online.
Amazing. Amazing tips. So I wanted to just dig into a couple of things. First of all, obviously, yes, the divorce registry, which we'll talk about in another episode too with Carrie. But so many things here, Carrie. So I think we're living in this age of social media, and people kind of think, and this is something you talked about, but people think that if something is close friends, or if it's on your Facebook and it's just to friends, that it's not going to be seen. But just a friendly reminder that screenshots live forever, right? Yes. My favorite motto, right? And to be careful who you're sharing things with, right? And can you just talk about that briefly for a second? Because I feel like people don't realize the web, that social media can, the world is small.
Yeah, and people can twist what you say or what you meant, and especially if they didn't know you. And, Olivia, you and I chuckle when you say screenshots. I almost mentioned that, but it's so true. And full transparency, I've taken screenshots to show a friend and be like, oh my gosh, did you see what happened?
Oh, yeah.
That's a natural way of life these days with social channels. So, that's why I really recommended the gratitude piece and
I
less
love that.
details.
I love that.
Because do you really want, any and all strangers knowing about your divorce? And, the internet stuff doesn't go away. So,
No.
An ex-partner can see it. Your kids could maybe see it someday.
I was going to say that, Carrie. Yeah, I was going to say that. Your kids can see everything. I mean, my kids are now Googling stuff. They can see it. Even if they're not on social media, it can still come up. It can still come up.
Their teacher can see something and accidentally slip some information they didn't realize the kid didn't know. Yeah. I mean, These
are all really good points. Really, really good points. I think that also, this is something that it's important to mention. You see on TikTok, when you're scrolling TikTok, a lot of, I'm going to say, people generally will vent about their exes, right? And talk about their exes. I don't think people know that all of that information can be used against you.
Sure. Yeah. Even, depending on what you say, even in court or something, if you're stating really specific facts about
that's what I wanted
buyout or childcare or child support or things it is natural to feel rage and anger and disappointment and hurt and all of, so many emotions. And social media is not the place to take out your emotions on your ex. And I actually feel really strongly, both personally as someone who's divorced and has a child with my ex-husband, and as a divorce coach, to not bash ex-spouses online. It's actually not even helpful for me to see, as a divorced woman, someone else bashing their ex-spouse, because I'm still co-parenting with my son's dad. So if I'm constantly reminded on the internet, an ex is bad, I don't want to still be married to him, but I don't need constant reminders that there should be tension, when we're trying to still parent this child we had together. So, I don't see the internet as a healthy or appropriate place to take out your anger on, why you got divorced.
It's not clickbait. It's not clickbait.
No, I still stand by what I said earlier of absolutely have some friends or family members or a therapist or a divorce coach where you can vent, and then you can strategize and focus on you moving forward and not only live in rage mode.
I love that. And I really love it. I did the same kind of thing when I announced it on social media. I remember I did it in the new year. Excuse me. And I said something it's been a really tough year, but we're doing great. And great, the gratefulness part. It's hard, right? But I think it's better to not say anything at all than to say the wrong thing. So keeping a low profile for sure, I think, is really important. But I love all of your advice. Find some safe people to talk to, voice note them, Marco Polo them, have your community, but that does not need to be on social channels all the time.
Yeah, agree.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Carrie.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Olivia.
Thank you for listening to today's story. We're always here, and we're so proud of you.
A Fresh Story is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the first and only platform for everything you need to begin again. You can read the show notes and learn more about today's episode at afreshstory.com.